Life has a strange way of unfolding. When I married David 2 years ago, I didn't just marry a man, I married into a family, one that included his 19-year-old son, Ethan. At the time, I didn't realize how complex and challenging those relationships could be. I felt I would bring a little warmth into their lives and take better care of them, especially Ethan, as he had lost his mother when he was only 12 years old. For more interesting true stories, subscribe to my channel, and do not forget to watch this video till the very end, since this story is going to be really interesting. Let me start right from the beginning. My name is Lena, 36 years old, and an interior designer by profession, and one who has spent most of her adult life focused on work. The meeting with David was unsolicited but great. He was charming, stable, and had a way with making me feel safe. And in what felt like overnight, our relationship had evolved, and before I could bat an eye, I was moving into his beautiful estate, just an innumerable amount of memories from his late wife and the life they had lived together. And then there was Ethan. To any outsider, he's your typical teenager, quiet, reserved, face-to-phone or game console. But once I got to know him, there was just so much more beneath the surface. He had a cutting wit, a disarming smile, and a depth of emotion rarely shown. Our relationship started off awkward, like most relationships involving a step-parent-stepchild do. He kept his distance, and I respected it. Through shared meals and casual conversations, common ground found its way into our lives slowly. Sometimes he'd join me in the kitchen while I cooked, or else we would sit in the living room with each other in silence, just watching TV, but somehow comfortable with each other. David, a busy executive, was more often out of town for work, leaving Ethan and me to share the house. Well, this felt strange at first, and I did worry about overstepping my bounds or trying too hard to connect. But then it just started to feel normal, and we became friends in our own way. One lazy Saturday afternoon, David had gone out to run errands and had left Ethan and me alone in the house. About to sit down to watch a show, I noticed my bracelet had slid between the cushions of the couch. Irritated, I reached between the couch cushions to retrieve it, but in doing so, felt my hand get stuck. Not again," I muttered, yanking with no success. The more I pulled on my hand, the more stuck it felt. "I need help," I called out, a little embarrassment creeping into my voice. A minute later, Ethan came into the room, seemingly perplexed. "What's wrong?" he asked. "My hand is stuck in the couch," I said with a let-out breath, laughing at my own misfortune. With a softening expression, turning into a smile, he stepped forward, kneeling down beside me. "Let me help," he said. Gently, he worked to release my hand. After a few moments, I was free. "Thank you," I said, smiling gratefully. He stood up, giving me a nod before returning to his room. The rest of the day continued without incident, but something had shifted. There was an understanding and ease between us now. That awkwardness that used to be there seemed to just fade away and was replaced with comfort. Ethan and I began to spend more time together over the next few days, small conversations, helping each other with little tasks around the house, and enjoying each other's company. The bond we were making was something more real to me, something supportive. And though there would still be difficulties ahead, I knew I was optimistic about the family we were creating. Barely grazing mine, and I feel this warmth build inside me, a feeling so unfamiliar to me that I didn't quite know what to make of it. One afternoon, Ethan sat next to me on the couch, closer than usual. He didn't say much, and he just watched the TV, but I could feel this tension rising in the air. Without thinking, I turned to him. "Ethan," I said, quietly, my breath catching in my throat, "what are we doing?" "I don't know," he whispered back, his voice low. "But I can't stop thinking about you." His hand strayed onto mine before I could answer, and he leaned towards me. I didn't pull away. We kissed again, this time with a little desperation, emotional in ways neither one of us fully fathomed. He stroked my cheek, his fingers gentle, and the touching went far beyond that accident. It was confusing, yet a connection hard to ignore. Emotions led us to my bedroom, which no longer could be contained. There was an air of vulnerability as we held each other tightly. Each touch, each kiss, told a story of what had been bottled up for so long. But reality was precisely that reality, and things quickly became complicated. Ethan and I shared something deep, but both knew it wasn't straightforward. It was a feeling of guilt very strong, and neither of us knew how to process what had happened. I tried drawing back from him, keeping our conversation short and simple, but every time I saw him, these feelings came flooding back. I knew Ethan was in just as much turmoil, and I knew neither one of us could go back to the way things were. I questioned everything now, my actions, my emotions, my next step. Was this something we could actually pull off, or just going to hurt us even more? One evening, we sat in the living room when Ethan suddenly spoke up. "Lena, I need to talk to you." I turned toward him, my apprehensions roused. "What's wrong?" "I don't know how much more pretending I can do," he whispered. "Something true for me has developed with you, and I just don't know what." I nodded, my heart pounding. "I feel the same way, Ethan. But we can't ignore what's going on." "What about David? What about everything we've built?" Ethan got up and walked to the window with his back to me. "I know, I thought about all that, yet every time I see you, I just can't keep it from my mind. I'm torn between two worlds." I moved to stand beside him, placing my hand on his shoulder. "I don't know what to do either, Ethan. But I do know this, that whatever this is between us, we have to figure it out together." Days went by, full of uneasy discussions, doubts, and epiphanies. Ethan and I were in a race to understand the magnitude of what we were feeling against the implications of all we had shared. We both knew it couldn't go any further without making a fundamental decision. We sat together in the kitchen one evening as the sun began to set. "We can't keep living like this," Ethan said, his voice steady and yet full of emotion. "I want us to move forward, without guilt or fear." I took a deep breath and gathered my thoughts. "We have to be honest with David. It's the only way." Ethan nodded seriously. "I'll talk to him, but I need to know you'll be there, no matter what happens." Ethan and I really had to be very sane, and we finally reached a point where we knew we were lying when saying other than that. We sat him down one evening and explained all our emotions and confusion, the things we tried to deny and connect ourselves with. It was one of the most difficult moments of my life, and fortunately, David's reaction wasn't as I had feared. He did not get angry nor accuse us. He looked at us understanding and sad. "I don't get it," David whispered, "but I can see the way you feel about one another. I just want you both to be happy." That was the turning point. We had confronted the truth, and somehow we emerged even stronger. It wasn't easy, and there were mountains ahead to climb. But Ethan and I began constructing a life together, taking it one day at a time and keeping the bond that they had shared in mind, with the grown love between them. The dynamics of the relationship changed, but David remained a constant in our lives. He was a friend, part of our family. Ethan and I found our own way in navigating this complicated journey. After all, our love was one which at the same time we had to fight for, but delicately take care of. But we knew it would be worth it. It's sitting here, really reflecting on everything that has happened with me. I would say, love is never simple. It's messy, complicated, and sometimes painful. But when you find that person, you know, when it's just meant to be, then it's worth everything that had to happen to get there. Ethan and I are both at peace with the past. We're building our future together. For that alone, I will be eternally grateful.